Hello, fellow users of YouTube. William here once more. I decided to go ahead and pick up Sonic High School by Dark Doom Fire Master, which can be found on fanfiction.net once more. I'm going to pick off from where I left off in the previous video in Chapter 4. Okay. Let's begin. Sonic did like in the first chapter and went to school again. Now it's lunchtime and Sonic was in the lunchroom. Sonic was telling all of the people at his table, who were Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, Espio, and Charmy B, about what did happen yesterday, but Tails already knew, so he was nodding his head like a good friend. "You should have seen it," said Sonic. "I was in the haunted house and I shot Eggman, but I let him get away right before I could have killed him." Sonic laughed and Tails laughed at the same time. "Knuckles said you shouldn't stop going on these cool adventures because high school is more important," said Knuckles, and Sonic knew he was right, because it's called Sonic High School, and it should be more about the high school part. So Sonic asked them all what they're up to. "Well, I'm entering the science competition," said Tails. "To win the science competition, I have to come up with the best invention, and my invention is this invisibility hat. It makes you invisible, but I can't do it right now because I have to make sure it works perfect for the science competition." Tails was so smart that Sonic knew he would win the science competition because Tails is like Inestine. "Nerd!" shout Knuckles right into Tails' ear. What a bad guy. Okay, "I'm just hanging out and not going to class because I don't want to cause trouble," said Knuckles. Knuckles is so bad that he would cause trouble. Sonic thought Knuckles was a fuck. You fucking echidna. Shadow was next, and he was badder than Knuckles, but in a different way. "I'm not going to be around much longer," said Knuckles. Shadow actually says that he always did at the end of what he was saying. It was because it was mysterious. "Where are you going?" said Tails, because he was curious. "I'm going to kill my parents," said Shadow. See, this is how Shadow is worse than Knuckles. He did serious bad things. At least at the end of the day, Knuckles could sleep. Shadow was too dark for that. "I'm gonna try out for the football team," said Espio. Espio was athletic like Sonic, but not as fast, but he had a horn on his nose that was good for attacking people in front of him, so Sonic thought he would be good at football. "I'm gonna try out for the play," said Charmy B. Charmy B was loud and singing always. "You're an annoying fag, so you should do great," said Knuckles. "Do not hurt my feelings," said Charmy. Charmy was used to being hectored, so he was able to remove himself from his potent fury. "Did you see Rouge just now?" said Espio. "She is looking so hot in her tiny bra." Espio obviously wanted to kiss her deep. "You should ask her out," said Sonic. "But the prom was yesterday," said Espio. "Why didn't you go?" "Well, that is okay. You can date any time," said Sonic. "Oh," said Espio. "Well, then I'm gonna kiss and sex her tonight." Espio was like a little boy, looking at his mom's boob for the first time. Sonic and Tails together were both looking at each other, and they wanted to help Espio. "We are gonna help you get a date," said Sonic and Tails at the same time, simultaneously, "and we are gonna do it right now," said Sonic and Tails. Sonic and Tails got up and both grabbed one of Espio's arms and dragged him across the room. Sonic did most of the dragging because he was stronger, and put him right at Rouge. "What is this about?" said Rouge with a questioning sound. She blinked her eyelids quickly like a race car. "What do you want? Why are you here?" Espio looked right into her eyes with a passion like 100 barking dogs and said, "Rouge, will you go out with me?" Espio was sweating, and there were drops of sweat dropping of his hands in front of her. "I don't know," said Rouge, and looked at Espio. Rouge gave him a sexy look that made Espio feel in love. "Please do it," said Sonic and Tails together at the same time. "Okay, we can go on a date tonight," said Rouge. Sonic and Tails and Espio were stoked and high-fived right there. By the time this night ended, one of them would have done their first sex. "Now here's the hard part," said Espio. "How do I put sex in her without getting in trouble?" Sonic and Tails looked at each other and thought, "Uh-oh." And Espio walked out while holding onto Rouge's boobies because they are now boyfriend and girlfriend, and it's allowed to do that. Okay. Chapter 5. Preparations. It was the end of the day at school, and it was time that Sonic and Tails and Knuckles got back on the bus at the bus stop to board it all the way home from school. "We are on the bus now," said Tails. "No more classes." Tails was happy but sad because he is smart. Sonic and Tails sat down together, and Knuckles sat right in the middle of the aisle, which he usually did not do, but sometimes did when not everyone was on the bus. It looked like Espio and Rouge were not on the bus because they were too busy getting ready to go sex tonight now that they are boyfriend and girlfriend. Knuckles laid across the aisle and even more stretched out than when he just sat across two seats, because now the limits were the Alpha and the Omega. "How can we help Espio?" said Sonic and Tails. Tails responded, "I don't know," and thought about it on the bus. The bus drove bumpy on the bumpful roads all the way home, and then they all got out at the bus stop that they normally got in the bus at, just like always. Sonic ran out of the bus, and then Tails, and then Knuckles in order. "Time to go home," said Tails. "We're almost there." And they walked the rest of the way home. When they got home, it was dinner time, and Sonic was at a different home from Tails and Knuckles because they were all in different families, so they did not live together. And Sonic's mom made a dinner. Sonic's mom made Chinese food, and Sonic ate it, and at the end there was a fortune cookie, and Sonic broke it open and ate the cookie part and kept the paper that was inside that held a magical fortune on it. Sonic looked at the fortune and read it to himself inside of his head. "The path to glory begins at the base of your friend's penis," said Sonic inside of his head, reading the fortune. Inside of his head, reading the fortune cookie paper, and he knew it was a good sign for what was about to happen tonight when Espio and Rouge went to sex. Then the phone rang. Sonic ran to the phone, picked it up, and said, "Hello?" into it. It was Tails. "I have an idea," said Tails on the phone to Sonic, who was listening but not speaking. "I can give Espio my invisibility hat that for the science competition, and he can use it to do sex for Rouge." Sonic smiled so wide, like the King of Fire, finding out he burned down New York City with only his fire powers. Sonic and Tails went to Espio's house later, which was not too easy to walk to normally for most people, but Sonic is super fast, so he ran there and helped Tails get there too, seeing as Tails is not as fast as Sonic. They knocked on the house and Espio came out to the door. "Here's my invisibility hat that you can use with Rouge tonight to make sex in. It makes it impossible to see and impossible to hear you when you are wearing the hat or when someone who is wearing the hat wants you to also be impossible to see and impossible to hear," screamed Tails, whose voice was a little hoarse from ordering food with the lunch lady whose hearing was lost in an earthquake in her childhood. Tails had to say the things we wanted so loud, and he would still say what? And Tails wondered why she even had ears if she wasn't going to use them. Yes, it is entirely her fault. Inconsiderate. She is. Espio grabbed the invisibility hat from Tails' hand and said, "Cool, thanks," and kept going, so Sonic and Tails left and wished in luck from far away at their homes. Back at home, Sonic thought that it would be good that Espio would get sex into Rouge, so then he could explain it to Sonic, and Sonic would know how to find Amy's sex spots even better, because otherwise he would have to read about it online, because all he knew about was kissing, which wasn't really sex, but it was probably kind of the same thing, and Sonic would just read about it online before talking about it anyway, and he he would know the right words for the things then. God damn! Sonic sat on his chair that was in front of his Sonic computer and opened up Sonic Instant Messenger and messaged Amy, who was doing the same thing but at her home, and said, "Hey Amy, wanna finally become true boyfriend and girlfriend by reaching sex this weekend? A wink wink." Sonic waited for a long time on his computer, and it seemed like Amy was not there because she did not respond to anything. Sonic played games online and beat all the final bosses because he was like an alien sent to Earth to destroy records set by others. Then Amy finally responded. What Amy said was, "No way!" Sonic was so shocked. His brain must have felt like a total idiot. Chapter 6. Espio and Rouge. Okay. Okay. Espio walked to Rouge's house because it was time for their date together, and all Espio could think about was that they were going to make sex for the first time. Espio looked at the computer and read about what to do and what the right words were, so he would know how it works and how to say it right so no one would make fun of him. It was Rouge's house he was at now, and it was in front of him. Espio knocked Rouge's house door. "I hope she's home," said Espio, and she was. She opened the door just then. "Hello, I'm home," said Rouge, looking always sexy in her tiny baby bra and big cool boobs. Espio thought she looked like the hottest woman in the world that he could see from here. "Where are you taking me on our date tonight?" whispered Rouge in a sex-filled voice. Espio had thought this one over on the way over so that he could say it right the first time and get her to do what he wanted. That's sex. Well, said Espio, just let me put on this science hat and we will begin sex. Rouge looked shocked, but she was probably excited too. Espio could tell they both had an erection. God damn it. Okay. What? Said Rouge in a shocked way. Right here? Espio said, yes, this hat was made by Tails specifically for our date. It makes it impossible to see and impossible to hear while I am wearing it. Espio did a cool face at her, because being smart can be cool too, as long as you're not a nerd ass. Rouge said, okay, let's go inside, and gently grabbed Espio's hand, but he pulled it back and she fell, causing him to fall, and they both together fell onto the grass where they rolled around it until they were about in the middle of Rouge's house's front lawn, so there was plenty of room around them for activities. We gotta get this. We gotta get through this. No, said Espio. I want to make sex in you right here. And Espio put on the invisibility hat so nobody could see or hear them, and a whole new world of possibilities were optioned to them, so they could do sex in whatever way they wanted. And it was time to start sex right now. Espio revealed his penis to Rouge, who looked at it. Rouge said, cool, and took out her vagina. Espio's penis was really big from looking at Rouge like when he is in church, and it's so boring, but you just get a boner anyways. God, I can't do this. Rouge's vagina looked like it was a surprised ghost. Espio's penis approached Rouge like a plane flying down at the airport, but instead of being full of businessmen, it was full of Espio's creamy Italian South dress. God. Here it comes, cried Espio, ramming his Mauve Avenger into Rouge's vagina spot. Rouge screamed sex noises and Espio messed around with her boobs and face like she was the X-Men arcade game. Espio slapped his big awesome penis from side to side in her vagina like a hot dog windshield wiper, and Rouge was ripping grass from the lawn. Then Espio used his tail to flip her over, he can do this, and put his penis into her butt. He moved his penis in circles in her butthole like he was building a golf course, eking out the back nine. Rouge was flapping her bat wings like an idiot and not flying because Espio's was holding on to her ass cheeks and pressing into them with his fingers, and leaving marks that looked like it said wow, when combined with the spot where her was. God. And that is what she felt, because Espio seemed to be a sex professional. Espio used his tail again to flip her over and did all-star sex things like using his penis like a rolling pin on her face, and plugging his penis into her belly button to see how far it would go, and making a balls hurricane with swirling his balls and her balls. Finally, they both got so sexy that Espio's penis ejaculated, and semen came out of it and landed on Rouge, who was lying there on the lawn, but nobody could see them, so it was okay. At that part, Espio screamed, "It's semen time!" and Rouge shouted, "Create a generation in me!" Espio ejaculated semen into her vagina, and that was what happened. Now that they were done doing sex, they put their penis and vagina and balls away, and Espio took off the invisibility hat, and it was like nothing ever happened, but they both knew it did because they were there for it. "Bye-bye," said Espio, and Espio walked off her property and away to his house and did the rest of his things until school happened the next day. Okay, this was painful. This was physically painful to read, this part. Catch you guys later.